Galil is a medical device company that makes cryoablation products, and we essentially freeze cancerous tumors with ice. It's a less invasive method of killing cancer, and gives us the ability to have people go home the same day or the next day because they're not dealing with radiation or surgery. I'm the IT manager of the U.S. and primarily Europe, so basically I am the sole IT for all of our U.S. and European people. I do all of the telecommunications, all of the internet, all of the infrastructure, all of the computers, and pretty much manage everything that turns on at Galil in terms of IT related products. I did research online and saw a little bit about it, and then realized that I share the same building as them, through my research I was looking into both Avaya and other different products, different phone products. One of the things that was nice about KAISERComm was that they weren't solely Avaya. I could get different perspectives on things, and then it came down to I ended up going to like an open house that was here at Kaiser, and I kind of met a few of the people, met a few of the salespeople, and Steve and stuff, and kind of started the process from there. So. The biggest thing was we have we had a Israeli IP office. We have an office in Israel, and we had an IP office there that was a little bit older, and we wanted to essentially network the two between U.S. and Israel to give least cost calling and inexpensive calling between the two. So essentially the beginning of it all was to get something that integrates into that IP office. It didn't necessarily have to be Avaya, but it ended up being Avaya here as well, because that integrated the best in terms of having a mesh network and having the ability to call with 4-digit dialing to Israel and the U.S. for essentially free. I'd say they worked very well. It was very hands-on when it needed to be and hands-off when it didn't need to be. They let me make decisions instead of making them for me, and essentially educated me on what was the right way to do things. So they used their experience of what they've done in the past to facilitate what I should do in the future. Tell me, yeah, that works relatively well, or no, that doesn't work very well. You should. They would steer me away from the wrong choices, that sort of thing. Yeah, definitely. And actually, one of the funny things that I tell people about KAISERComm is my CEO actually, his parents owned a telecom company. Growing up, he worked there on and off, and he said after we finished the project with KAISERComm's help, that it was the smoothest cutover he'd ever seen in terms of switching from system to system. And somebody who's been in the telecom industry for however long he was involved with it, definitely meant something. And I expected a lot of, as being the sole IT person, I expected to have a lot more downtime or have a lot more problems. And honestly, it was off at 5, on at 7:30. Actually, it was on at 5:30. We just didn't. It took time to actually place the phones and stuff, and we were in business by like 8 o'clock that night, something like that, and it was pretty much flawless. So I was really happy with it, and since the installation's been I think about 2 years, going on 2 years, somewhere around there, and we've had very limited downtimes and very little issues that we've ran into. And when there has been an issue, KAISERComm has been able to help take care of those issues. So. Yeah, actually, significantly more. When I was estimating costs of the system, we were expecting to save somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 to $1,200 a month in telecommunications, overall conference calling, and all that kind of stuff. When I did the math afterwards, it was something like $2,000 to $3,000 a month that we saved after we tallied everything. It's kind of funny, I didn't realize that a large percentage of our telecommunication costs were us talking to ourselves. It had nothing to do with communicating to outside individuals, and we cut that almost completely out. So because we went over an MPLS connection to our Israel office and used small community networking with Avaya, we were able to do all of the calling from both places for essentially free, other than the cost of the connection between the two. But our conference calling costs went down from at least $1,500 to $2,000 a month down to, I think the last bill was under $20. So pretty big savings there. And frankly, I think it ended up paying for the Avaya upgrade in I think it was 18 months or 16 months, something like that. So it was definitely worth the investment for us. If you take all of our long distance, all of our conference calling, all of our telecommunication costs in general, we were running somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $6,000 a month. And we've brought that down, including the MPLS connection, the site-to-site connection, down from 5 to 6 down to under 2,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So the savings has been much more. And then one of the things we didn't expect, and this is why it was really helpful, we didn't expect our cell phone bills to be significantly lower, and they ended up being much lower, because what we were finding is a lot of people were dialing cell phone to cell phone, but the other cell phone was in Israel, and so now they use the IP office, they use the small community networking. In fact, they can even still do cell phone to cell phone, but go through our MPLS connection and make a free cell phone to cell phone call, which makes it a lot cheaper too. Free international cell phone call. So I think one of the things that I really liked was there was the a small company feel, but also had the ability to do what needed to be done and have the knowledge of a much larger company. To me, having the ability to go to the office and know, for instance, the CEO or some of the higher up people means a lot to me, and knowing that it's not just some big conglomeration from different states and that sort of thing, it meant something to me. And anybody locally working with them knows that they know their stuff, and you have the ability to contact them anytime you need to and such. So both Kaiser and Avaya have been perfect for us, and we were really happy to end up with the end result that we had. We were really happy to have it and use it, and there's not many people that say bad things about our phone system, so it's quite good, and it's been a major win for us over the last 2 years. So.